Say the quiet part out loud when it comes to immigration. Say what's going to happen to them when they get there. And I'm going to cut the arguments off early where people say that this is some big hoax and tell you that your Department of Defense acknowledges it. I'm going to tell you that your Navy acknowledges it. I'm going to tell you that your White House website acknowledges it. I will tell you the world leaders are politically investing in it. I will tell you that Russia and NATO are both militarizing because of it. I will tell you that trade routes are opening because of it. That because the ice is melting, trade routes are opening because of it, and Russia's gaining power because of it. I will tell you that lands are contested because of it. The North Pole is contested because of it. I can tell you that even if you don't consider climate change as a factor, the Earth can only support a certain number of people because of limited resources like water and ability to grow food in growable and habitable places. And I can tell you that we undercounted. And I'm sure that you're seeing why that would be a problem, right? If we previously thought that there was less mouths to feed, and now we're seeing that there might be potentially a billion more, an eighth more mouths to feed. Estimates vary, but it's concerning regardless. And honestly, we don't have enough food regardless. All right, so with the undercount, officially there's 8.2 billion people. If we consider the estimates with the undercount, there could be as many as 9 or 10 billion people on Earth. Earth can support 8 billion. So we're already over. With or without the undercount, we're already over. By 2050, we will be quite a bit over by up to 6 billion. And United States, one of the highest consumption nations in the world, a nation whose economy exists only on consumption, is not immune. So effectively, we have 340 official and documented people. But if we take into account undocumented citizens, we probably have closer to 355 million. We have the ability to feed right now 462 million. So we have a small overlap because we overconsume. But by 2050, that will drop because of climate change to 300 million. So we will only be able to support 300 million people, but we're going to have 462 million people. So let's say the quiet part out loud. They are collapse planning right now. They are exporting collapse. They are exporting starvation. And here's why we won't have enough food. As climate change persists, the livable zone, the suitable zone where you can grow food, where you can reasonably live without going outside and feeling like it is 1,000 degrees, and it being unsafe, the suitable zone is going to move to the north. So like the Great Lakes region where you have access to water that allows you to actually grow food, that's where people will be livable. And this area over here to the west, where we previously were growing a lot of crops and livestock, will not be. And it is temperature, but it's not just temperature. It's climate change as a whole. So the Great Lakes that we said was going to be habitable, they'll be seeing a large amount of rain as well. So it's not going to be just easy peasy for them either. But places over here are going to experience mass temperature increases and increases in wet bulb, which means that your body just can't sweat to make you cool down during the hot and humid temperatures, essentially. So it becomes unsafe even at like 82 degrees. Also, I want to point out this is not very far in the future. I'm not talking about like a long way away. I'm talking about right now, things you need to care about right now. And one of the biggest issues that we see in America is water stress. And water is so important because it literally grows food. And we haven't developed the technology widespread to grow food on limited water, nor to desalinate water, to filter water and upgrade our grids and things like that. In fact, we're taking after countries and partnering with countries who literally use hydraulic hegemony to get citizens to do what they want. They literally hold water as a carrot to do what they want. And all of these places are set up naturally to be at risk of something like hydraulic hegemony or simply dehydrate, simply not having water and therefore not being able to grow food. This affects our ability to feed our people. So looking at this map and definitely acknowledging climate change, but not saying that part out loud, they're saying it behind closed doors. They're saying it in the Department of Defense documents that I've showed you. They're still benefiting from all of this climate change because they're investing in it. They're cutting trade deals with it. They're deporting people back to lands that are inevitably going to be sacrificed while they cut profitable trade deals, while they invest. I don't want to say words that abandon people here, but how is this not a climate apartheid? If they're giving their labor in exchange for their lives, how is that not very similar to other resource scarcity driven events that we have seen throughout history? Some of which were decided who can continue on the basis of race. So I'm going to go back here and show you the places that are most affected by this because it's not America. We won't have enough food to live the way that we are. But also, we consume way more than our global allowance as is. So we need to reduce consumption. Period. Period. We need to reduce consumption because places like this have been suffering for so long because of our overconsumption. And at this point, it's come to a head. They're not going to make it through. And many of these places are places that we're not only deporting people to, but that we've signed third country agreements with. So many of these places are receiving immigrants that have never even stepped foot in these countries. Why? They're sacrificial. That's the only answer, is they are sacrificial as we are planning for climate collapse. Except for in some of them, particularly South America, because we're also seeing that we're splitting by hemisphere to maintain the power of our US dollar and therefore our ability to trade and exploit from these nations. We're also cutting very profitable trade deals with Guatemala, with Honduras, with Venezuela, with El Salvador, who has taken hundreds of prisoners this year. I mean, follow the money, right? The money speaks for itself. Not only are we deporting people, we're doing it in exchange for goods, exchange for money. They're not people in our administration's eyes, they're labor. And they're less mouths to feed in the name of a collapsing society that we have caused the collapse of through our overconsumption and our geopolitical strong arm of the US dollar, the petrodollar. We're avoiding the writing on the wall as sanctioned currencies rise in opposition to our oppressive and sanctioned system of the US dollar, of our geopolitical strong arm system of the US dollar. They're rising in opposition to that. And our dollar will buy less, outside of our hemisphere, anyways. Our dollar will buy less, and we are forced to exploit from the South. And therefore, we're choosing. This is choosing in apartheid who will have and who will give. So call it what it is when we talk about immigration. Whether this was the goal all along or whether this is just the consequences of the system that has been created, this is apartheid. And it is no different than history. And people always say, don't just remember the event, remember what led up to the event. Remember what led up to the event, because you are living through what led up to the event, and we are actively allowing them to create an apartheid state because we're telling them to get ICE out of the cities that the ICE is never going to leave. Follow the supply chain. Put pressure on the supply chain. Require transparency and answers from the supply chain, because this supply chain is who is continuously exploiting people. Follow what is happening with trade routes in the Arctic, because these power dynamics, this power shift is what is driving all of our actions this year, from Greenland to Venezuela and what's going to be happening in Cuba and later Brazil. Call it what it is, because it's this right here. It is a sentence. It is an apartheid sentence. And in some places, they're not even going to be sent to work. They're literally just going to be sent to be lost. Months to years, not decades. And if you're still worried about the internal politics of America, because we do need to feed our people and people will not make it through this, and we have to acknowledge that, these are the places they're going to prioritize. Because these are the strategic locations where trade routes and rail and ports and military bases all lines up in America, which is all the places that they've sent the National Guard before. The red dots is where they sent the National Guard before. So these are the places that they're going to prioritize. These are the places they're going to funnel people to. These are the places they're going to want to ensure ideological alignment with. And we could talk about multiple different instances in history and where they prioritized things like this, but we don't have to look at history. We can look at the very country that you turned your back on, that you turned your eyes to, that you shut your eyes to when they had no food, when they had no water. So look at what the countries prioritized then, because it was always about the strategic land. And causing chaos was always the point to justify the surveillance and militarization of the strategic land. So if you are in these cities protesting, they are going to try to use that as propaganda to increase surveillance on the strategic land. Sit and deny them that ability. That is the best choice at this point in time. And bring attention to this system and to the supply chain. Follow me for more. It never feels good, but you'll understand more.